Hi, my name is Asim Sultan, and this is my Red Line Challenge. I'm from and based in Saudi Arabia, and I photograph weddings, portraits, and stories in general. I'm right now in the historical district in the city of Jeddah, and I'm here with a Saudi couple to photograph them and share with you some of my favorite tips on how to use foreground, texture, silhouettes, eliminating the couple, just really how I add that little bit of magic. Light in the dark doesn't have to mean nighttime. Here I'm starting off in the afternoon and still using pockets of light before it's dark. I love this place because of all the contrast. There's so much hard sunlight and then extreme shadows, and I love to play with that. I noticed that there was a beautiful ray of sunlight that was falling at the entrance of an old building. And I immediately just asked the couple to go and stand there and just keep busy, talking to each other, being playful, and just forget that I'm around. To say words that trigger her like memory. I'm exposing for the forehead and the cheekbones because that's really what I want to share. And I want everything else to be very dark and extreme. I love the drama of the extreme dark and brightness next to each other. So with the 5D Mark IV, I usually have a 35mm. And then with the mirrorless R camera, I have a 50mm. In this photo shoot specifically, I will be playing around a lot with the 40mm tilt shift lens. I generally use this lens to play around, to kind of hide everything that I don't want to focus on, and it just gives me that beautiful blur and softness around everything else but the portraits. While I'm walking the Al Balad district and it's so busy with people passing by, I found a beautiful leafy alleyway. I think what makes a photographer capture amazing images is to have a lot of layers in the forefront and the background of the portraits which you want your viewers to always focus on. It's a beautiful way to frame the images and contrast with the stark, sharp blue light in the background. So while I'm walking the alleyway of Al Balad district, I found a beautiful frame, and it's a gate to an old, empty site, and it's gloomy and dark. There's really nothing there. But centering the couple there and asking them to hold my off-camera flash behind them, it'll create a beautiful silhouette, and it'll add to the entrance a lot of magic and drama. I already have in mind that the off-camera flash behind them will create a beautiful halo around, and it will splash between their faces, bounce to the walls, and then back to them from the front. So I have one light being used as a backlight and also front lights. It's creating a beautiful dramatic moment. So I have a little tip to really make a dull background transform into a magical, beautiful location. My favorite go-to secret weapon is fairy lights. So the fairy lights are very light. It's just a wire that has beautiful sparkles, and you can move them around your lens, and I can easily hold it while I'm taking photos. So you can just move around and really test out which photo is going to be that just perfect magical photo.
Oh my god, that's so cute!
So I don't use color gels for my off-camera flash, but because I'm using fairy light, that warmth from the fairy light will kind of throw off and make the off-camera flash light seem cooler. And having that blue, the coldness, and the red warmness just makes a beautiful photo become even more of a fairy tale, and I just love it. Everywhere I go, I look for little pieces of glass, and I play around with everything. Even if I've forgotten my own little pieces of glass that I've collected, I'll still use a champagne glass at the wedding and just use that in front of my lens and play around. And really, anything can transform a normal, regular photo into something more dramatic and more magical.
Oh my god!
I love the kind of ghostly look that you can get from the reflections of glass, holding it right across the lens and it just reflects right off and makes that beautiful, surreal look. Because it's very dark, I'm gonna use the LED light just to make sure that I have their faces in focus. Sometimes I'll have it on just to give that little bit of fill of light in the space without overbearing, and I'll still have the off-camera flash be my main light. If you don't have any fairy lights, you don't have a shard of glass or a glass table that you can reflect off, then the most basic trick that I use is my phone screen. And I will just hold the phone screen right next to the lens and use it either at the bottom to have to reflect sunset or a portrait or anything, and it can make one person look like there's two. I find that when I'm using an actual mirror, it's just too perfect. I want to confuse the viewer to think and evoke their emotions. I want them to look more and try to figure out how I got it and what's happening in this photo. When I'm using a phone screen, it makes it a bit darker and a bit tinted. So play with your phone screens and just see what you get. I think photographers, when they start out, they tend to be very safe and they don't get out of their comfort zone. They want everything to be in the center and everything to be well lit. We don't always have the confidence to play around. So experiment. Put your subject on one end of the frame, at the corner. Play around and put them all the way on the top. Use light, use sparkle, use everything that you have to make a beautiful photo. You'll be amazed by how beautiful your photos will be once you get out of your comfort zone. I hope I've inspired you with my tips. Please remember to enter the Red Line Challenge. I cannot wait to see what you can do.